What is up, fishing world? Trevor Wagner coming back at you again. It's Tackle Tip Tuesday, and today we're talking about those essential tools that I will carry in my kayak at all times, just in case. That's right, these are the tools I carry just in case. But as a kayak angler, I can tell you, just in case usually has always become the case at some point or time while I'm out on the water. So we're going to go through and I'm going to break down and show you each of those things that I will always have with me at all times when I'm out on the kayak. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is having a light source with you. Now, some of us have lights inside our kayaks that we turn on that we can see inside of our cockpit area. Some of us will carry extra flashlights with us, but I like to carry a visor clip. This guy right here will always clip to my visor on my baseball cap. Now, some people wear a whole headlamp. I found those to be cumbersome, heavy on the head, especially when I'm wearing a hat. So these visor clips that you can pick up just about anywhere are really, really good. And this guy is super bright. I really like this one. I think I picked this one up at Walmart. It's called Cyclops, but the thing is super bright and works really, really well. And this will always be, I have basically a toolbox little thing that I carry with me at all times, and this sits inside of it, and it is always there. So even if I show up at the ramp and it's dark, and I'll be like, oh, I forgot my headlamp, because it's always there. When I'm on the water, and all of a sudden some fog rolls in, or it's becoming dusk a little faster than I thought it would be, I have the headlamp with me at all times. It's small, compact, and fits well. Always carry a light with you. This is the one I always have. So the next tool most of us always carry, but it's one that is often forgot sometimes when you're on the kayak, and that is a good pair of braided fishing line scissors, something that you can cut. I know some people carry the boomerang clips that they pull out and cut with, but I find that just having a good pair of scissors is actually the better way to go. So these are the Rapala scissors. I think I have like 3 pairs of these, but this pair is always in my kayak, always ready to go. Again, cut fishing line, cut regular line, just comes in handy to have you a good pair of scissors. So always make sure you have your scissors with you. All right, next up is something that a lot of people do carry, and that is a pair of regular pliers. Now for me, if you watch one of my last videos, these pliers are actually split ring pliers as well. So again, and they have a cutter on them right here, so a little bit of multi-purpose. So it's pliers, split ring pliers, and a cutter all in one. And I usually have this with a ring on it and a bungee tether, and they sit in my kayak. I have a little tool holder, so when I'm in the kayak, I put them in the tool holder. Very accessible, very easy to get a hold of, and something that I think I've used these every time I'm on the kayak. I will end up using these in some fashion or another. Usually it's getting hooks out of fish's face because, I do throw a lot of treble hooks, so really comes in handy. So that's number 3. Always have a good pair of pliers. All right, so next up is kind of following along in those plier lines, but these are called hemostats. And you can pick these up, Walgreens, you can get them at Walmart too. But I like these. Let me get a little closer so you guys can see. This is the curved ones. They kind of have a little curved into them. I like these a little bit better than the straight ones. And you might be asking, why the heck do you have a pair of hemostats with you on your kayak when you go fishing? And the reason is, if you get that fish and it's got gut hooked and it's hooked really deep, and you're trying to keep the fish alive and you're not trying to kill that fish, these work really, really well to go underneath the gills to get in there. They're not as cumbersome as a pair of pliers going into the gills. So it's a little bit smaller profile, a little bit easier to get in there. And the other thing too is these actually click So once you have it on the hook, you can click it, and then you can just kind of let go and kind of pull it out and work it if you need to, just with one finger as well, to get that hook out of that fish's mouth and out of that gut with minimal damage to the fish as you're working. So that is why I carry these with me at all times. Again, it's about fish care, keeping those fish alive so I can catch it on another day. Now, if I'm going out and it's just some white bass and stuff that I'm going to keep and I don't need to let it go, I really won't use these. I will just rip it out and go from there. But again, really good to get behind the gills, to get up in there and undo that hook so the fish can live and fight another day. So get you a pair of these. All right, now we're getting to a couple that a lot of people don't carry on their boat, but I usually do. Next, this is my Gerber. Some people use Leathermans, some people so this is a good multi-tool, because you never know, especially with me, I have a pedal drive. If you have electrical motors, stuff like that, you might need to do some maintenance when you're on your kayak. So having another pair of pliers, and again, open it up inside, you'll have a Phillips, a flat tip, a knife, a file, which again, file can come in handy if you need to sharpen a hook on the go, because you can just pop that file out, sharpen your hook real quick, and you're good to go. So it has all the stuff that you may need while you're out on the kayak in a pinch, because not all of us carry all the tools we need with us on the kayak. And this multi-tool really comes in handy, again, just in case. Because again, that just in case sometimes becomes the case. So having this with me at all times has saved me a lot of trouble and not having to try to paddle to get my way back. This has helped me out on the water in case I've had to unscrew some things and mess around with some stuff while you're on your kayak. So my suggestion is get yourself a good multi-tool. Also, I know they're more expensive, but stick with a Leatherman or a Gerber. Go with your name brands. I've tried cheap ones in the past, especially when I was in the military, trying to save money, and got some of those cheaper knockoff brands, and I found that they just break. I've busted the knives on them a few times, and then when I switched to Gerber, I have not had any issues. The thing's a tank. It's built really well. And again, Leathermans are the same. They're built really strong, really tough. So get yourself a good multi-tool and go from there. All right, the next two items that you see in front of me are two things that, well, let's just say you don't want to have to use these, but I will tell you that I've had to use these multiple times. So the first one I'm going to show you is a pair of dikes, wire cutters, whatever you want to call them. Now these are pretty strong. These are a Cobalt brand. I've actually used these to cut hooks, and that is exactly what this is for, is to cut a hook. So you may be thinking, why do you need to cut a hook? Because it's in your hand or it's in your leg, and it has happened. Now let me tell you a story of why I carry this with me. So 2 years ago, I'd never carried the dikes with me before, wire cutters or anything like that, and I was out fishing a tournament on Possum Kingdom Lake, and I was out, throwing some treble hooks around. I was basically square billing up by some, there were some rip-rap rocks and some wood, and I was throwing it around. Hooked me, I think ended up being like a 13.5, 14-inch bass. Hooked it, got it in, and this thing would not stop. I don't know if you guys know, when you catch those smaller bass, they just seem to be full of spit and vinegar. And this guy, I'm getting it in, and I'm in a tournament, so I got to measure him. He's flopping around. While I reach in to get him out, he shakes right at the right time, and I have one of the treble hooks go right through into my right hand, right into my pinky, almost went up underneath my nail, and here I am. I have a lure attached to my finger, and still attached to the fish. I was able to get the fish undone, but here I have a lure. It was a Spro Little John, by the way, hanging off of my hand, bleeding pretty good as it's coming down. I get the fish, put them on the measuring board, take a picture with my phone with the lure hanging off, get the fish measured, get the picture, release the fish back in the water, and I'm sitting here trying to figure out, this thing is past the barb, it is in there, and I'm like, I can't get this off. It is just hanging off of my hand, and I don't know how to get it. Now, there was some docks around, and I saw there was a lady probably about 4 or 5 docks down. When I passed by, she was out fishing, and I'd wave hi to her and everything else as I was going by. And I was like, man, I hope she's still there. So I pedal drive my way over. Sure enough, she was still there. And I waved her. I said, hey, you wouldn't happen to have a pair of like wire cutters on you or anything? And, you know, kind of showed her my hand. She goes, well, I don't have any here, but I think my husband has some in the garage. Now, at Possum Kingdom, they had a ramp. They basically had a boat dock, and they had a ramp that they can launch their boats from there. So I pulled up on the ramp. Her husband went up. He came down. He had a pair of wire cutters. I pushed the hook through. He was able to clip the end where the barb was off and slid the hook out. You know, went in, rinsed off my hand, put a Band-Aid on it, and went back fishing. So from that moment forward, I have always carried a pair of wire cutters now, just in case I need to cut a hook, which I've had to do since then one other time. And so, again, get you a pair of good wire cutters and make sure they actually cut. That's why I have these cobalt ones. There is some cheaper generic ones, and they just will not cut those treble hook or those thicker gauge ones. Some people, like, you know, carry little itty bitty bolt cutters with them. But these cobalt ones right here, these are actually the same ones that the guy used when he cut my fingers. So I made sure I went and got the same pair because I knew that it worked. And so I will always carry these with me just in case I get that treble hook in an area where I can't usually use, you know, the braided trick and stuff like that. So carry a pair of wire cutters with you. Now, speaking of the braided trick, if you get a hook, let's say like in your forearm or in your leg, or even like in the palm of your hand, in that area, you know, they have that braided trick where you can, you know, you make a double braid, slip knot, you hook it on there, put a little pressure on, and then you pop it off. That's great and fine and dandy if you have somebody to help you. Sometimes you could do it by yourself if it's in a, you know, one of those locations like on your leg or somewhere like that. But if it's in your hand or your arm, it's kind of hard to do that by yourself. And many of us, when we go kayaking, we are by ourselves. We might go fishing with a buddy or some other people, but they're usually far away. They're not next to us when we get a hook stuck in us. Now, obviously, if they're close enough, you can call or ask them to come over and help. But the other tool that I've been carrying with me, and I got this, and it is called the DHUKER. I'll find a link and I'll put it down below for this. And again, this thing is amazing. This is basically the braided trick that you could do with one hand. You can do it with your dominant hand, your non-dominant hand, and it works as the same principle. It has this little, as you can see, it has that little hook thing right there that you basically put again on that treble hook area. This part right here is what you press down, and then you just basically, if you have that hook in there, you just put it in there, press it down, swipe it right out. Comes out, minimal bleeding, you don't even have it. So why is it minimal bleeding? Because when you're pressing down on that treble hook, you're basically getting that barb to detach itself from your skin. So it's not rubbing against your skin anymore. You're pressing it down, and the quick swipe out makes it pull straight out without that barb catching, ripping more skin and causing you to bleed more. So really, really great tool. Really saves some time, saves you out on the water to get you to go back fishing to catch some more bass. All right, guys, so those are tools that I will always carry with me all the time on the water. Like I said, headlamp, scissors, pliers that kind of double as split ring pliers and regular pliers, the hemostats, just in case I get that deep hook in there and I need to go underneath the gills to get a hook out. Again, a good multi-tool like a Gerber or Leatherman. Good pair of dikes or wire cutters, whatever you want to call them. Trade name is dikes. And then again, the DHUKER to get those treble hooks out. Because with treble hooks, it's not a matter of when you're going to hook yourself. It's a matter of, yeah, I got a hook in me and I got to get it out. So it's inevitable. And you know me, I throw a lot of jerk baits. I throw a lot of crank baits. So me getting hooked with the treble hook, the probabilities are really high. I've had it happen several times, and these tools have helped me out greatly as I went through. All right, guys. Again, you notice I didn't mention my knife because that's on your PFD. It's always there. So other than the tools that you see that I have, what are some tools that maybe you carry on your kayak that maybe I didn't mention that maybe it's something I need to look at adding to my arsenal as well for those just in case happenings? Comment down below and let me know that tool that you have that I maybe didn't mention. Or perhaps comment down below if I mentioned a tool here that you're like, man, I never thought about carrying that, but that is something I probably need to start carrying. Comment down below. All right, guys. Well, that's it for this week's episode of Tackle Tip Tuesday. I hope you learned something, or maybe I put another tool in your head that you maybe didn't think about that you need to have. Don't forget to do all those things, the like, the subscribe. Really helps out the channel. It's free. Doesn't cost you guys anything. And with that, I will see you next Tackle Tip Tuesday. And until then, if you can, get out and fish and catch some bass. Have a wonderful week, everyone. We'll see you next time.